on the Book of Face. Yes, I am on the Book of Face. I'm 53. It's part of my job as a Gen Xer. And so if you're waiting for me to actually begin, it's because my microphone was not plugged in on Facebook, and I'm just I can't talk and type. One moment, I gotta say, it is Sunday, January, I'm singing, so you'll think I'm interesting and stay. And it's okay if you go, because I do it too. All right. Here we go. For props today, I grabbed stuff from my apartment that I'm pretty sure you have in your home. I grabbed this is like a thick belt. You could use a belt. You could use a strap from a like a bathrobe, piece of rope. This will make my arms longer. And I have a couple cotton blankets here. These are like yoga blankets, but you could use anything. You could use big towels, some other kind of a blanket, and this is going to help keep the surface I'm on a little bit soft. I am using a yoga mat, but you could use just your floor, especially if it's carpeted. So you don't need anything magic for this. And now we're really going to get started. So coming to the edge of the chair so that my sits bones are right on the edge and feet on the floor. If you have dangly bits, you'll be sitting so that your dangly bits have some room. And this is part of the tantric attitude of this work. So just taking a couple breaths in through the nose and out of the mouth to check in with the breath. And the checking in is really not much more than noticing how it feels to be breathing. So right now, since I am resolving a COVID infection, I still have some congestion I'm aware of. Sighing will help soften. One more. And then we're going to check in head to toe. So starting with the head, bringing one ear to a shoulder, and that will create sensation on this other side. So I'm working in a yin fashion today. I'm going to let this arm just relax down, and that relaxation alone and the weight of my arm is increasing the sensation in my neck. So when approaching stuff like this, somatics and embodiment, while in pain, or living with pain, the primary, the prime directive, to quote Jean-Luc Picard and Milena Williams, the prime directive is I'm seeking sensation that I can stay with and that does not increase my discomfort. And then hand to cheek, using the arm to lift the head up. And that lets your neck stay relaxed. Take a breath. And then here to the other shoulder. Can sort of move the jaw and chin to find what I call the sweet spot. I don't know if you can see this online. This shoulder is pulling this way from the inside, and that is a factor of my mastectomy site and the pain that I carry. I'm choosing not to correct that alignment today because I'm working from this attitude of exploring the sensations that my body has without increasing discomfort. And again, just the gravity. This is a great thing to do at work, like especially if you have the misfortune of sitting in front of a computer. On your swivel chair, you'll need to be a little bit more intentional with your feet on the ground, hand to cheek, that lifts up. Take your breath. These are very, 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 very slow neck rolls. I apologize to the TikTok. I'm unable to see any of the questions or comments that you're putting in the chat because my eyes are too far away from my device. This tucking in, if you're hypermobile, if you have like a Ehlers-Danlos going on and it creates discomfort in your neck, you might be completely not doing this, and that would be cool. So I'm going to let my head stay heavy and connected as much as I can. And so as I go back, rather than letting it collapse back, I'm lifting here. And if you bring your tongue to the roof of your mouth, increases sensation here. And then ear comes to the other shoulder. Chin to chest. And then the head is heavy, so hand to the forehead to lift it up. So far, so good. Shoulders are next. So just easy, slow, gentle. A yin approach is it's just a more softer, gentler, less less hard. It's a weird thing to say. We're not going for like huge big, right? We're just going for noticing the sensations. And bringing this forward. Now on one of these platforms, I have threatened that this kind of work might improve your bedroom experience. And the reason I make that claim is spending time with the body, with yourself, your literal, actual self, for no purpose other than awareness. I might still not have that mic on. Look at that, I just stretched. I wasn't planning to do that. And then both back. I'm hearing crunchy, like in my joints. I also have hypermobile joints. So, but again, it's all within if you know the word window of tolerance, I can tolerate the sensation, comfortable in it. So this is screwing in a light bulb. I'm going to drop to the floor so these other folks can see. And now Facebook can hear me. So to screw in a light bulb, bring one arm up and have your hand gently cut, like a fancy waiter might hold a tray. Arm extends up. I'm moving from my back. And I say it's like screwing in a light bulb because if a bulb was above my head, I would do this kind of a movement. From here, this is butterfly. So hand becomes a butterfly. And this creates a kind of gyration or shaking, and that helps to move lymphatic fluid. So for my mastectomy and top surgery friends, if you have discomfort, especially if you've had lymph nodes removed, this can be helpful. I'm letting this relax. Checking in, I'm noticing a difference in sensation one side to the other. So let's see what happens over here. And if you're just joining, I'm going head to toe, checking in with my body after being in bed for about a week with a COVID infection. And shake it. Butterfly. Relax. Next is my hands and my wrists. So I'm going to get nice and close. Interlacing fingers, just rolling. If you're arthritic and this hurts, what are you going to do? Maybe this, maybe not this, because today is about sensation that I can stay with and that you can stay with. And now the other way, which feels super strange, but doing it. This stretch for the palm, I learned from Anna Forrest. Her form is Forest Yoga. So stretching the hand really super wide. This is to the fingers. Hypermobile friends, be aware. So the first thing we do is to extend the arm and just in the air, stretching the hand. This is, hello, mama. Oh my goodness. You know, there's a contraction that happens when you're sick. The body kind of just in on itself, and that happens with all the tissue, in my experience. Now I'm going to stretch my fingers. I call this milk the goat. Don't ask me why. This is what I came up for the name. Whole finger, the whole finger in the palm, just a little, just a little. But the real action is in stretching the hand. Fourth finger, and again, hypermobile friends, friends with injuries, friends with arthritis. You will choose to do this or not based on what you know about your lived experience in your body today. I don't know what your lived experience is. For your thumb, backs of the hands together, grab your thumb from underneath, and that presses, and holding the whole finger in your hand keeps the joints in your finger aligned. And we're going for the stretch on the palm, not range of motion in the fingers. Other side. So nice big stretch. Pinky. I guess it could be milking a cow, but I like goats, especially a little baby pygmy house goats. Okay, fourth finger. Again, I'm stretching my palm, not going for a huge, like bringing my fingers back. It does assist though, very nicely in my experience. Staying in a range of sensation that does not increase pain. Or just a sensation that, yeah, doesn't make your reality right now worse. Letting that go. Move back up on a chair so you can see me sideways. This is movement with breath, still on the upper body and the arms. So I'll take a big breath in here and exhale. Do you see how my spine is moving? Exhale. So these are like seated cat-cow tilts, but I'm going for this extension, reaching in the chest, rounding in the back, upper back. I can already feel I'm like flop sweating. I think I might still have some infection in me. Back to center. The breath. On the chair, just take a little twist to one side. So now we're getting into here. Yep, I got it too. I got the belly, the flab, oh, the body image shit that I'm still working through at 53. I'm letting it go. Just let it all hang out. Nobody cares. If they do, fuck them. Or don't fuck them. Yeah, you know. But I can use the palm here and here to help with this twist. Your spine moves in 6 directions. It goes forward, like when you bend down to reach something. It goes backwards, like when you look up at the sky. It twists, which I just did, that we would call that a helical movement. And it goes side to side, like this, which we're not doing yet. Butt walking here. Reminding myself I got a pelvis, I got some hips. So I'm taking my body in a circle and sort of just shifting the weight. Again, checking in. How does it feel? There is pain that my body is carrying. So I want to be intelligent. I'm using me and I because I don't have any of you in front of me to observe what I'm seeing. So it's not like a narcissistic, this is all about Katie. It's literally a limitation of the technology. Nice. Breath. Feet. Feet. Hey, guess what? I can't reach my feet. Maybe you can't. That's why we have one of these. You can use it to kind of help. And I'm going for an external rotation here. So if you need assistance, you can use this. You could also, seriously, just do that. Right, so it's only thinking about this. I'm coming up here. If you're here, and today is an appropriate shape for you, this foot is flexed. As this knee is opening, you might feel some sensation on your outer hip. That's good. If you're feeling pain in your knee, your ankles, I would suggest moving away from it. One of the guidelines I've always used in the past 20 years or so, let's take it forward just a bit, is if it's in my joints, I'm moving away from that. If it's in or around my joints, if I get pain while I'm doing this stuff. Now let's see if I have any questions here on the Tic-Tac. No, how's everybody doing on Tic-Tac? How's everyone doing on Facebook? We're just hanging out, checking in, seeing how it feels. Good morning. Can take this all the way over. Now this happens for my body. It may not happen for your body, and that's okay. This version, this here is, if you've ever gone to a yoga class, this is mirroring a bit the legs in Garuda Asana or eagle pose without having to balance on one foot. Bonus. I'm going to bring foot and ankle into it. Again, this is a yin approach. Super chill, super relaxed. The approach. Let that go. Now I'm going to shake it out. Like there's something on my foot and I'm gotta get it off. This is that shaking again that assists with the flow of lymph. It's also kind of energizing without having to like do major stuff, like moving and jumping and running. So we're going to go into the other side again. If you need assistance, you're going to use a tool or the floor. And hey, guess what? I would argue, okay, this is my argument, my belief, the more I'm able to customize everything to my needs in any given moment, the more advanced I am in my practice. So if I got to pull out 27 props, that shows me, to my mind, that I've got the like, okay, I need 27 props today. Let's go forward. I used to teach a form that does not use props. It is the hot yoga that's done in a room heated to about 104 degrees, 45–50% humidity, very intense. Also led by a vicious monster. But I used to kind of break those rules. Props are, they're accessibility devices. Why wouldn't I want my body to have more access? Why wouldn't I want your body to have more access? I can't think of any reason. And cross. I'm often observing the, I'm going to call it rampant ableism in the wellness space. Again, this is that crisscrossing, applesaucing, eagle-like Garuda Asana-like shape with the ankle rolls. You know, the narrative that an advancing practice looks more and more bendy and Cirque du Soleil. An advancing practice is what's happening inside. The most advanced yoga I've ever done, I was paralyzed from the waist down. The most advanced yogi I've ever taught was in a wheelchair. Back to here. Let's get on the floor. That's going to require a change in all the things. So I'm here. Nice to meet you too. Oh, Micah. We don't have to meet each other here. Are you pouncing? We have not pounced, Micah, in a decade. That is not okay. Micah is a wonderful human who everybody should know. Okay. On to the floor. I don't know how people like, it has been too long. I was just realizing I met this one friend of mine through kink, through BDSM, and also through a power exchange group. This is constructive rest position. I may need to, constructive rest position, you'll be on your back with your knees bent and your feet on whatever surface you're on. TikTok, you're just waiting for me to get you to the place. How do people do this? How does Mark Rebele do this? He's that musician that he's one of the patron saints of the Church of No Pants because he doesn't wear pants and he's fucking brilliant. He'll stream on like 27 platforms at the same time. Someday. All right, here we go. Constructive rest. Why is it constructive? Because it is. I really do need to make this different for the TikTok. Let's talk about sex, baby. While I am doing this, I'm really sorry to my TikTok friends. I know this is like probably making you sick right now. The system I'm in, I'll be right with you, TikTok, is a system that centers the, it centers arousal energy and consciously working with arousal energy. Pain is arousal. Pain is a form of arousal. It can be sexy. It can be not sexy. It is a form of arousal. And so when it's chronic, when we're in it all the time, there's a kind of like constant state of arousal in the body, in the nervous system, that can lead to things like changes in your posture. So there's a fascia researcher. We're hanging out here in constructive rest. I'm going to tell you about Robert Schleip. He's from Germany. He's a medical doctor times whatever, like 3 or 5, I don't know. He's got so many fucking degrees. And he's one of the world's leading researchers in fascia, which is the connective tissue that permeates every cell in the body, every tissue, every muscle, every organ, every connection between. And what he is finding in his most recent research, I just did a course with him, I think like a week or 2 ago. What he has found in his research is that fascia moves on its own. Fascia contracts like muscles on its own, but, and, what he observed in his research is it takes a super long time, like a month, to go like a centimeter or something. And what he was saying in this lecture was that that mechanism of fascia to move on its own with a person, a body that might have chronic pain or injuries, can impact the structure of the body. So yes, my yin yoga friends who say that we're focusing and targeting fascia, there is something to that, but it is everywhere. You cannot separate something that is by its very nature. By its very nature, it's connective. That is my opinion. The organization Robert is in is the International Fascia Congress, I believe. There's another guy, Gil Headley, Hedley. He's fucking brilliant. He's in Colorado. If you're on the TikTok and you follow Full Body Connection, I'm sure she knows him. He does a lot of dissection, and he does lectures, and that is where I study my anatomy. So one of the benefits of constructive rest position, which we're now holding for a bit here, is it helps your psoas and your hip flexors soften a bit. And Liz Koch, Koch, is a, she's a somatics, I think she used to be a body worker, and she's written a couple books on the psoas. One is called like the psoas. And that muscle, this muscle goes from your spine to the fronts of your hips. And it's often referred to as like the fear muscle or the trauma muscle, or I don't know, I just call it the psoas, but it does tighten and contract with trauma, with discomfort, with pain. And I know there's this whole thing about do this shape for 5 minutes and release your trauma, and do this and release your trauma. And I'm here to tell you, friends, that is not the way I would suggest. I would suggest we go nice and slow. I'm just loving on my body here. So that it's a slow melt rather than like putting a flamethrower to ice. I'm going to start bringing some movement into this. So arms on the ground, using the pelvis to tilt forward and back. You see how I'm just letting my head go with it? Yes, this is that movement as well. I just heard somebody have that little thought. So my feet are stable. I'm kind of using them a little bit. This rocking motion in some of the more esoteric, energetic practices in the system I'm in, this mirrors something called the pump, the sacral pump. If you are familiar with any of the Kundalini work, you're probably familiar with the sacral pump. And that is a way to almost like gather and rise arousal energy from your reproductive organs through the, I would call it the central channel, through the spine. Very, very warming. Not a great idea, I don't think, if we're in pain. But I have a solution to that. These are shoulder drops. So here's my arm, nice and relaxed. You can see my elbows sort of bent, wrist relaxed. Watch what I'm doing with my shoulder, with my scapula. The whole thing lifts up. This stays soft, boom. Lifting up. Again, this is more ballistic movement, more shaking that is yin in nature, that is assisting with the flow of blood and lymph. Apparently, congestion. I'm just letting that go. So about 6 or 7. I'm letting my arm stay where it does. Here's my other side. This is the affected side. This is the side that I had the breast, and I think it was like 21 or 22 lymph nodes removed. That is a lot of lymph nodes. The dissection, I can't even imagine how torn up my armpit is. It must be because I'm still in pain 2.5 years later. So this is a nice way to just help my body move lymph, because it doesn't have lymph nodes anymore to do that. Your lymph does not move like your blood. Your lymph moves through movement, like you have to move your body. And letting that go. I'm going to do the same thing with my hips now. So sort of rolling to one side, pressing the foot in. Here's my hip, my bum lifting up. And just a gentle drop, just enough to get that little shake. Gentle. I have found this, just these two maneuvers, especially with like if I'm having a low back moment, so good. And the other side. So all of the movement, the shapes, the, you know, the embodiment, the somatics, however you want to call it, I am drawing on many, many different traditions and approaches with the primary aim of liberating the body, being liberated in the body. That is what embodiment is. And liberation, whatever that means for you, it no longer means pain-free for me. It can't. Letting that go. Grab your tool. Grab your foot. It's going to work on the Facebook. And I'm just going to stretch my leg. I am hypermobile, remember this. So I don't want to. This is a not for kids, but it's also not that kind of class. Okay. The more flexed your foot, the more this is towards your the ball of the foot, the more sensation you're likely to experience. Can you see me on TikTok? Okay. And again, this is like, I didn't do a warm up. There was no running or jumping. This is yin. So I'm only going to go to where I'm feeling this sensation on the back of my leg. I can do all of this, but that's not the point today. The point today is to see where my body is and how it feels after this COVID infection. And if you remember earlier, I was mentioning that I'm moving away from pain in the joints. So where I'm feeling this is here, and that's great. Since I did those hip drops, I'm also noticing that my back, my low back especially, has better connection to the surface I'm on, and it may just be that I'm aware of it, but I like that. If you don't have this range of motion, and this is where you are today, look at me resting on a chair. Perfect. Again, I'm going to keep saying it. Your practice advances the more that you're able to accommodate your needs. Your teachers, your instructors are more advanced, the more they're able to accommodate your need. This feels very different. So my knee is more bent than it was on that side. My foot, my toes are not as flexed, but I have that same sensation in the back and here. So this is where this is going to be today for me. Here. Let go. To my side now, I'm going to get into tabletop. I'm going to show you a couple of things you can do for your knees. Tabletop is on your hands and knees. If your knees hurt, there are a couple of ways that you can support them on the surface. And depending on like the why, where you support them will be helpful or not. And I don't know what the why is for you, but there are a couple ways you can be supporting your knees here. For sitting, sometimes folks need to be supporting here. Again, what works? What do you need today? Tabletop. I support my knees here because if I don't, the bottoms of my legs from my knees to my feet, they go completely numb. Such an interesting feature. Palms flat on the ground. Hands are about under my shoulders, knees are about under my hips. If this is aggravating for your wrists, you could make fists with your hands and rest on your knuckles. And then your wrists won't stay straight. And a lot of people find relief that way. And this is cat and cow in tabletop. If you want to be working so that you're coordinating your movement and your breath, this is going to be your inhale. Every time you expand in a shape, that's an inhale. When you contract, that's an exhale. Super simple. It only took me like 4 years to figure that out. Would have been nice if somebody told me when I first started my asana journey. For fluid, cat and cow, I'm going to get the rest of my body involved and keep my hands, my knees, my feet, everything where they are. So the base, my foundation of my posture, my foundation is anything that's on the ground, just like a house or a building. And so if you're going to build a posture, build from the ground up. You might really want to be in that bird of paradise, but if your setup is, you know, a little bit wonky, maybe you just stay there today, no big deal. Child's pose. Knees get wide, hips come back, and here's where, if your knees need support behind them, you might put that towel behind your knees. If this is completely unavailable, which it can be for a lot of folks, bellies, you're going to move your belly. Boobs, you're going to move your boobs. And if it's completely unavailable, I would suggest lying down on your belly, because that's where we're going next. This stretch, this reach here, if you, how shall I say, a yin approach is going to say this is super soft and passive. For the side body, moving your ribs to one side and then letting that opposite arm cross the midline is going to bring sensation on your side. Just checking in. The other side. We're going to be moving into puppy pose next. So if you're on your belly, you're going to need to get up. And I apologize for the lack of warning. This feels so good on my mastectomy site, but I don't want to overdo it. So I'm going to pull in just a bit for today. Back up. Puppy pose is a shape that mirrors when puppies like do that thing and wiggle their bums. And it can be very intense on the back. I'm not going to show the variations just because of the limitations of technology, and I'm already kind of up and down and in and out of frame. But this is now for my chest because I have a breast and a ghost boob. This is Bob. This was Blanche. Yes, I named my breast before I executed her. Why? Well, I don't know. It just seemed like the right thing to do. And yes, I have a boy breast and a girl breast, and my vagina is a man. I don't want to hear about it. Okay. So from here, look at that, butt up, chest down. I go right into this. Why? Because I'm hypermobile. So I'm not going to lean on that today. I'm actually going to come up onto my elbows. You can be here, you can be here. If this is not, oh, my feet are cramping. Thank you, dysautonomia. What this is doing is expanding my chest and also giving my low back this arch without obligating my body to hold my weight, like if I was standing. And this shape, honestly, you probably could be here for a few minutes if you'd like. I often do invite people to stay here for 4 or 5 minutes when I'm facilitating. It's not going to be that long today because this is the check-in. And now onto the belly. If you have a big belly, I have one student who his belly, this just doesn't work for him. So when we go onto our belly, he goes onto his back. Super simple. I'm using this as a pillow. If you are able to be on your belly here, as you're breathing, can you breathe in a way that your belly presses into the ground when you breathe in? Like you can feel that. Watch my back. I don't know if you can see that. I don't want to exaggerate it, but so the breathing in presses into the ground a bit and exhaling. So this next is a 3-part move that you kind of do need to be on your belly for today. So if you're not on your belly for today, you can watch and hang out. So I'm going to start in like a Superman shape with my arms out to the side. Chin. I don't want to do this. Yeah. I'm going to do it away from you. So whichever direction your chin is facing, thread this arm through. So my chin's here, I'm going to thread this way. If you have breast implants, this might be like super weird and uncomfortable. And that's when you're going to use cushions. Also, like GERD and some like respiratory situations, this might be weird to breathe in. And if it is, you just don't do it. Bending this knee. So whichever arm is through, the same knee is now, or the knee that's on the side is bent. You'll see when we go to the other side. But I want you to see this opening. So this opening is going to move my spine. This is that helical, that twist. But the focus here, I'm actually more paying attention to my chest. So not necessarily going for shoulder all the way to the ground, but more letting this arm be in the air to get this stretch here. This, again, delicious on the mastectomy site right now. But also just really lovely to open and expand this area, which again, when the body is in stress, the body contracts. And, you know, we're all in a big T trauma right now, globally. Well, so I just think it's nice to bear that in mind. And here we go to the other side, threading this through. I have so much more room on this side because I got a D cup and a none cup. Bringing that knee out. I apologize for all the coughing and again, this is the post-COVID infection. I'm always in pain anyway. Check in. That might improve your intimate life. Here's that twist. Why might it improve it? Because you will have spent time in your body, paying attention to your body, noticing without judgment. The mindset, the framing of the mind is, I would offer positive regard. And that comes from the humanism, or I should say humanistic approach to psychotherapy, that, you know, we're holding ourselves in positive regard. Fucking hard as shit, especially for like recovering people pleasers and such. But it's a nice thing to practice for yourself. This is super fancy. Look, check this out. I can just go right onto my back. And here I am back in constructive rest. And you are as well. And take a couple breaths. Have another moment for the hip flexors. This is, I don't even know that I would call it a bridge pose because I'm not going to ask us to get into a big back bend. But if you take one of your blankets or pillows or something and slide it under your tailbone so that your tailbone is resting on it. You see, I'm not lifted. I can go like all the way up. I'm not going for range today. We're going for awareness. We're yin. And then this extension with the legs will also here, now we're back into the psoas. For many bodies, extending the legs here is going to feel bad. So don't do it if it feels bad. Just letting gravity and passivity do the work. So pain as arousal, fascia as its own almost like contractile field, particularly for those of us who carry pain and injuries and illness. And knowing that if pain is arousal, and I'm in pain all the time, I can be gentler, softer, quieter. I'm able to stay pretty still today. If I wasn't able to stay still, I would be moving. I never obligate myself in that way, ever. And I never obligate students in that way, even when I'm facilitating yin yoga, where you're supposed to be a statue. F that. F that. That requires force. We are not forcing. Bringing my knees up, hips up, down. This is knock knee pose, so feet to the edges, knees in the middle. And what that does is now my sacrum's like, I know a lot of people go into feet together, knees open. I think right now this is a more intelligent move for me today. That's what I'm sharing with you. And yes, I'm talking the whole time because I don't know how people do it otherwise. Upper back, same thing. You have options. This can go in line with your spine. It can go across your shoulder blades. I'm going to do it across my shoulder blades. We're going to be mindful of the neck, especially my Ehlers-Danlos, like super hypermobile folks. There's one gal on TikTok who's like, her head like folds all the way back. Let's not. We don't need to increase range of motion if that's already there, right? So behind my shoulder blades, moving so the tic-tac can see me. Yes, I call it tic-tac. So now this is on my shoulder blades. I got a little bit of support here on my head. This is a variation of Matsyansandra. Ooh, I don't think I pronounced that correctly, or fish pose. This is going to be okay today. It's 1, 2, 3, 4. Make a wish. You also have the opportunity or option, if you'd like, to extend your legs here. If you carry trauma in your body, this can feel uncomfortably vulnerable because of truly because of this exposure, like, right? So uncomfortable, vulnerable equals shift. Because if you agree with me, we're not going for like big, massive blowout trauma releases. No, we're going for a slow melt that just helps the body soften and relax. I have very strong opinions about like self-directed massive trauma releases because you genuinely need a container, meaning your environment, the preamble, the aftercare, the everything that comes up. I mean, if it happens, it happens. And I don't believe there's any compelling reason to seek it without training and guidance. That's me. Your mileage may vary. I need to get back in the chair. Actually, we'll just do this seated. This is the microcosmic orbit, the 6 healing sounds, and this is Tantra. This is the stuff that makes the bedtime better. Better bedtime. That's terrible lighting. Sorry about that. Okay, where are my glasses? These are my inexpensive ones. I can easily sit on the ground. This is nice and available for me. You might need more support. You can also do this in a chair. It's traditionally done seated. So these sounds, these healing sounds, tone the vital organs. This all comes from Taoism, from China, from lineages and wisdom streams that predate acupuncture. So this is old school. This is not new age. This is old school. This is TCM. This is Qigong. This is something that I was taught by a living master. I'm sharing it with you. Starts with a smile. Closing your eyes if that feels okay. If it doesn't, you'll just have them gently open. To my facilitating friends, my teaching friends, every time you tell somebody to close their eyes in your class and they don't close their eyes, you're being an asshole. You're being a domineering asshole. There are so many reasons for people not to close their eyes that have nothing to do with your authority in the room. It is not trauma informed to obligate people to close their eyes in your room. Yes, that I feel very strong. but so smile. First sound is for your lungs. The sound is S, like a radiator hissing. The emotions are grief and courage. So I'll go through like a little bit longer explanation, and then we're just going to do the sounds. When you inhale, you're inhaling whatever you understand the attributes of courage to be, or what you imagine the benefits to be, or how you, whatever. Okay, and then when you exhale, we're exhaling grief. You don't necessarily need to be thinking about something specific. It's just circulating those emotions. And these sages, these wise people, mostly men, but lots of women too, just found a way to associate elements and emotions with organs. This follows the path of the vagus nerve as well. So this assists your autonomic nervous system. We like that. Okay. So inhaling, we're just smiling and breathing. We'll do movement another day. So smile to your lungs. They're mostly on your back, in your back. So when you inhale, you'll breathe in courage. Exhaling grief with the sound. The color is white. Inhale, courage. Exhale, grief. This is the metal element. Couple more. Inhale, courage. Exhale, grief with one more. Inhale and exhale. And take a breath. Next is your kidneys. And please know that these emotions are not given any value or merit. They're neutral unless and until they're out of balance. The emotions for the kidneys are shock, like surprise, and calm. The sound is chew, C-H-O-O-O-O-O-O-O. For my kinky friends, this is my go-to breath during intense sensation play. All right. So the breathing in calmness and letting go of shock and fear with chew. Toning the energetic qualities of the kidneys. Inhaling calm. Exhale shock. Inhale. Exhale. One more. Inhaling calm. And letting go of shock. Into a regular breath. My devices are going to have me mirrored or not mirrored, depending. So I apologize if I name a side and it looks different. Your liver is on your right side. The right side, if you're in the US, is the passenger side of the car. The emotions are anger and forgiveness. Forgiveness, is that a word? Forgiveness. Anger and forgiveness. Element is wood. The color is green, and the sound is shh. So inhaling to forgive. Exhaling anger with shh. Inhale. Exhale. Shh. Again, we're in forgiveness and anger. Inhaling forgiveness. Exhaling anger. Shh. One more. Inhale. And exhale. Shh. Breath. So one of the things that next is your heart. You can see I'm starting here. One of the aspects that I love about this framework is the neutral attitude towards emotions. Nothing is seen as good or bad. It is balancing or unbalanced. So your heart is love and hate. And like, the sound is ha, and the color is red. So inhaling loving kindness, exhaling hate with ha. Couple more, inhale. Exhale with ha. I will often do a cycle of these healing sounds. Another breath in for love. Exhale ha before intimate contact. Absolutely before play. Another one, inhale and exhale. Take a breath. The last sound for your organ goes to your spleen, which is above your stomach. On the other side from your liver, this is the seat of worry. This is where your intrusive thoughts reside in this energetic system. This is where that like constant, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, this is where that happens. And the balance for that is trust. If you have a faith-based practice, this is faith, okay? So the inhaling faith and trust. The sound is like an owl in the distance, letting go of worry. Couple more. Inhale. Inhaling trust or faith, however you understand that. Letting go of worry with. Take a breath. There is reasonable concern from trauma experts on breath work for people who experience PTSD and CPTSD, and I agree with them. I am a subject matter knower. I am not a therapist. Your breath, but I do these. This is what we're going to have this conversation now. Your breath, of all the automatic functions that your body does, the autonomic nervous system, the ANS, and this is the system that's impacted by stress and trauma. If you've heard of fight, flight, freeze, oh, the connection is choppy, sorry. This is through your autonomic nervous system. So your body will breathe whether or not you ask it to, because it needs to stay alive. But it's also something that we can control. You go swimming, you hold your breath. You sing, you use your breath. You run, you're paying attention to your breath. If a body mind is traumatized, that can be too activating. It can be too stimulating. It can be too arousing to have that kind of attention on the breath, especially I will be doing more on the breathing techniques, and I also have a couple videos on my YouTube. They're fucking amazing. They got me through cancer for sure. So this whole like the box breath, have you heard of that? You breathe in for 5, hold for 5, exhale for 5, hold for 5. That's going to help your stress. Really? I got to count. I got to hold. I got to count. I got to hold. There is nothing natural about that. Nothing. It's useful, absolutely, but it is not how the body like is. So one thing that I offer to folks who are resolving trauma, and I am one of those people, by the way, is you could begin just by, you could begin just by lengthening the exhale or just paying attention to the exhale. And the reason the exhale matters, the reason that it's useful, is the exhale is when we relax. That's the relaxation. What's the last thing you do before you expire? your last breath is going to be an exhale. So to be in communication with your breath in that way, to be paying attention to your exhale, maybe just make it a little bit longer to begin with. Good stuff. These 6 healing sounds, we did 5. There's a 6th one, which I'm not going to share today. These sounds I have found for myself and for clients, not universally. I am not making a medical claim. I am sharing information that I have observed. These do seem to be available for folks when folks are resolving trauma, when I'm working with people. The way that I'm working with people who are resolving trauma, though, is I am not your trauma therapist. Nope. You're going to go to a specialist for that. I'm here just to with the assistance and the help in that process. And I'm saying that because I have a scope of practice as a somatics and embodiment person. I have a scope of practice. My scope of practice does not include therapy, medical advice, or like fucking physiotherapy. That's not in my scope. That's not in the scope of practice of any of the yoga teachers you go to, unless we're also trained and supervised. So if you see somebody with my skin tone who says, come to my trauma-informed yoga class, and they don't have a way to clearly define what their approach is, why they're approaching this way, what kind of safeguards they have in place, what kind of supervision do they have, do they understand their scope of, I mean, there's a lot of questions you could be asking. And trauma-informed care is less about the action and more about the interaction between provider and person, or facilitator and person, or body worker and person. It's the nature of that dynamic. And I believe that dynamic is best supported as a what am I here in this context, as a facilitator, if I'm following you, not you following me. Yeah. All of this, though, does assist with the sexy fun time. I'm hungry, and I think I might still have goddamn COVID. So let's go. Let's see what my test says. Oh, this will be fun. Oh, look at that. Still positive. Fuck. Guess I'm not going to the sound bath today. This is a rebound from the Paxlovid. Yeah, that's a bummer. Anyway, I'm so glad that we had this time together today. I appreciate you staying through my chaos. These lives can be chaotic. I am actually able to like guide a class. I just don't understand how to do that on the lives, really. But you're welcome. You're welcome. Thank you for being here. So I'm going to go tend to my still COVID and call Brooke and tell her I can't attend her sound bath today because I don't want to get anyone sick. Yay! Bye. Fuck. Just fuck. Goodbye.